Having worked in early years education for over 13 years in a diverse and inclusive urban primary school, my knowledge and experience of inclusion has developed significantly over the years, particularly with regards to special education needs. Considering inclusion, during their inspections, Ofsted will look for the provision of an inclusive service. Within the standards for learning, the early years statutory framework seeks to provide inclusion through equality of opportunity. However, there is no specification for what inclusion actually looks like and how it should be achieved. And it was my opinion that within my community there is a common respect for all, where diversity is respected and celebrated, and inclusion is just part of our daily practice. Throughout this module, we have studied inclusion from a range of different perspectives and been fortunate enough to meet an array of speakers who have shared their experiences and knowledge of inclusion, subsequently enabling me to deepen and alter my own thinking. Occasionally, there are barriers to effective inclusion, and I have found myself very recently questioning why parents of children with complex needs would insist on sending their child to a mainstream school if special provision is recommended by medical professionals. In fact, a significant increase in SEN within my current year group has led me to contemplate at what point does inclusion of one child become exclusion for their classmates? And at what point does parents' choice overshadow children's rights? Considering the UNCRC Articles 28 and 29, which outline the right for all children to an education, my experience has revealed the inclusion of some SEN pupils in a mainstream classroom can have a negative effect on other children, ultimately impacting their right to a safe education. Guest speaker Alison McLaughlin, a mother of a child with various special education needs and disabilities, explained the decision to send her son to a mainstream school was from a social perspective. It was important for Alison that her son had the opportunity to develop relationships with his peers within their community and have as similar an educational experience to them as possible, in spite of the challenges he faced. I hadn't considered this parent perspective prior to this lecture. I had assumed that the refusal to send a child to special provision was due to the lack of knowledge of what an SEN school could offer and a possible archaic view of SEN schools as an institute for individuals with the most complex of disabilities and limited learning needs. As a parent myself, I acknowledged the importance of my own children building relationships with their peers and immediately understood and respected Alison's decision. Alison described how the different teacher attitudes she encountered during her son's mainstream school journey impacted on their experiences enormously. Linking this statement to Owen's view of unconscious bias, I realise I need to challenge my own preconceptions towards parents of children with SEND, ensuring they don't affect my professional judgment or practice. Another guest speaker, Lynn Barnier, defined inclusion as individuals' needs being met, not just everybody being involved in the same thing. Lynn described mainstream learning as a vertical learning model where children quickly progress and develop their knowledge and skills in line with the rigid curriculum, and explained that often children with SEN require a more lateral learning approach with time to revisit and embed their skills several times before progressing. Considering the learning I have gained throughout this module, I now believe an ideal model of inclusion of SEN within a mainstream school is to have a specialised classroom or unit for those children with complex needs who may find the typical classroom dynamics challenging. This provision should offer an individualised and tailored learning plan with experienced staff, in addition to daily opportunities to integrate with their peers when appropriate. Inclusion is a very broad subject and means different things to different people. I believe it's impossible to consistently be wholly inclusive. However, being open-minded and having genuine respect for everyone, despite their similarities or differences, is a good place to start.